Your Denver Broncos have now been linked to two higher-priced free agent running backs that we're going to break down on today's Broncos Breakdown. Welcome into the show. Matthew Peterson here, talking about Tony Pollard and Miles Sanders potentially coming to Mile High. But before we even get to those guys, I think the conversation really needs to start with the current starting running back for the Broncos, and that is Javonte Williams. What is the latest on Javonte Williams? Unfortunately, did suffer that really bad knee injury in Week 5, and we'll get to that in just a second. But we do have a bit of an injury update on Williams, believe it or not, in the midst of the NFL offseason. Troy Rank, who covers the team, tweeted out that Broncos running back Javonte Williams will remain in Denver this offseason as he continues to rehab from ACL surgery. He's in good spirits, and he said, I am able to do everything they asked me to do. That's a good sign for a hell of a runner who was missed last season. Now, Javonte Williams' injury was not a run-of-the-mill ACL injury. It's not one of those see ya in 9 to 12 months kind of deal. Torn ACL, torn LCL, and a damaged/torn, however you pronounce that corner. I'm not a doctor. I didn't watch enough Grey's Anatomy, but I think the date is really important. October 10th, Week 5. This is an injury that's very similar to what J.K. Dobbins suffered last year or 2 years ago now at this point for the Ravens. And it was more than a 12-month recovery for him. It was closer to 13, 14 months. And in 2022, when Dobbins came back, if you remember, it wasn't Week 1 or 2. He had to get knee surgery again and miss some more time. So I don't think he's going to be back for Week 1. In fact, I think he'd be closer to Week 10 than Week 1 if his return is similar to the likes of Dobbins and Saquon Barkley, for crying out loud, who also had a really bad ACL injury. Now, let's go back in time, though. Way back when in October, when Williams went down, I found this old article from The Athletic, and I thought it was pretty impactful. Here's what Nick said, the Broncos beat reporter, okay? The bottom line is that a ligamentous knee injury like the one suffered by Williams is definitely more severe than a standard ACL tear, according to Dr. Clint Soap, a surgeon with Cedars-Sinai, Curlin and Job Institute in Los Angeles, and an orthopedic consultant for MLS LA Galaxy. All right, I butchered that quote, essentially. But Javonte Williams, when you look at his career stats, 2 seasons for a player that has 2 more years left on his rookie contract, and through 21 games, he's put up over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he's averaging 4.4 yards per carry. Javonte Williams has been good, but he's not like Saquon Barkley coming back from the ACL injury. I don't think any of us have seen enough from Javonte Williams to be all that sold that, yes, he is the running back moving forward for this team, whether or not he's going to be clean bill of health starting in 2023. Now, this is the pinned comment on today's show, so get down in the comment below and let me know if YouTube sticks an ad break so you can take advantage of it by getting your confidence level on Javonte Williams bouncing back, right? Is Javonte going to be close to what we kind of expected him to be in 2022, in 2023? Scale it 1 to 10. 1 being that you have very little confidence you're going to get much production out of 33. 10 being you think he's going to be ready early in the season and he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber running back for the Broncos. I think there's a very good chance that Javonte Williams misses close to maybe half, if not more, of the 2023 season. If it's 12 months, which it sounds like it's probably the minimum for the type of injury he sustained, that puts him for October, right around Week 5, right? Well, what if it's 13 months? Well, now we're getting from Week 5 to Week 8, Week 9. Now we're approaching the halfway point of the season. So Denver definitely needs to be prepared for what their situation is, because when you look at this depth chart, they've got Chase Edmonds, who battled 2 high ankle sprains after getting traded from Miami, and that's it. Crockett and Beatty, they're not running backs for this team moving forward. Sorry, guys, I don't have much faith there. So now we start to entertain the idea of signing someone like Miles Sanders. Pro Football Focus picked the Broncos as a destination for Miles Sanders. The former second-round pick out of Penn State is going to turn 26 in May, and I wonder how the Broncos, and more importantly, how Sean Payton views Javonte Williams long term. Because if they don't think Javonte Williams is long term, since he's going to miss a good chunk of 2023, and then that puts him on the last year of his rookie contract in 2024, they could go out and sign a player like Miles Sanders and start planning down the road if they don't feel like they're all that attached to Javonte. Now, Sanders' last 4 seasons, his career so far, really, here are the numbers. 818 yards back in 2019. He kind of stuck around those numbers from 2019 to 2021. He had a good season this year statistically. 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. What was interesting was that it seems like as the postseason moved on, Philly really preferred Kenneth Gainwell to Miles Sanders. Sanders only got 7 carries in the Super Bowl. To me, that tells me they don't have huge goals to bring him back for top dollar in free agency. Overall, my stance or take when it comes to Miles Sanders is that I've just never been all that high on him as a player in general. So when I pair that with me not loving the idea of not necessarily breaking the bank, but shelling out some bucks in free agency, when Denver's got some money to spend, but not a ton of it, right? They probably will end up close to $40 million to spend in cap space, maybe not even that high. And I don't know if Miles Sanders is going to be the guy they want to shell out some money for. Now, Spotrac does contract projections, which I wholeheartedly pretty much disagree with, but they are smarter than I am. And they think Miles Sanders is going to get 2 years, $14.4 million in total. That's a yearly average of $7.2 million. I think he's probably going to get more than just a 2-year deal. My guess is he gets a deal closer to this. James Conner got it. 3 years deal, $21 million, an average of 7. The average is similar. I think he's good for more than just a 2-year contract. I think this is probably a little bit closer to what you can expect for Miles Sanders. Now, we're going to look at the next running back in just a second. But if you are ready for free agency to finally get here and we can really start breaking down all the news and rumors surrounding who George and Sean Payton want to go out and get, well, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing, because there's going to be a lot coming out of Denver, and we're going to be breaking it all down here on the channel. Tony Pollard is the next running back I want to talk about on today's show. CBS Sports picked Tony Pollard as a free agent target for the Broncos. Now, Pollard, if you're not, well, you are familiar with, because he's better than Zeke. He's the best running back on his own team. Now, he is coming off a broken leg and ankle sprain from the Cowboys' playoff loss in the divisional round to the 49ers. He is also a prime franchise tag candidate. A lot of people in Dallas expect him to get franchise tagged, but you never know with this type of thing, right? We don't know where they want to put their money if they don't feel like Tony Pollard is worth $10 million, which we'll look at in a second. Pollard's stats the last 4 seasons, though, 1,000-yard rusher and 9 touchdowns. He's also a phenomenal receiving back. He's just gotten better every single season. A former day 3 pick out of Memphis, 3rd round, 4th round in that range. Well, he's been awesome for the Cowboys, and he was better than Zeke, hands down, and no one's going to argue against that in Dallas when it comes to the running back room. Now, Spotrac's contract projection for Tony Pollard, they have him getting a good amount of money. 3 years, $27 million in total. That's an average of 9, so 2 more than what Miles Sanders was getting. But the franchise tag is $10 million. So if Dallas doesn't want to get burned again, and they didn't learn their lesson from signing running backs to big free agent contracts the second go-around, like they did with Zeke, they could franchise tag him, draft another running back, use Pollard for 1 more season, kind of run him into the ground as teams like to do, and then reset and go with their now second year back. I'm a big fan of Tony Pollard, but I'm a bigger fan of not paying running backs a ton of money in free agency. $10 million isn't, $9 million isn't absolutely earth-shattering numbers. Christian McCaffrey makes $16 million. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, they're in the $12 to $14-ish million range. So Tony Pollard for $9 or $10 million is a pretty good deal if you ask me. But at the same time, you can also do what the Cowboys did, which is draft their own Tony Pollard, right? Go to the 3rd or 4th round of the draft, get a rookie running back, have him for 4 years. You're going to be paying him about $1 million a season instead of 9 or 10x that. Now, if you had to pick a running back between the two we talked about on today's show, who would it be, Pollard or Sanders? Let me know in the comment section below which one you would rather pick if you had to go out in free agency and sign one of these guys. Speaking of free agency, to end the show here, we're continuing our countdown of free agent tracker players that make sense for the Broncos to sign. 23 days away. What about Latavius Murray? What about bringing him back? He's a bit older in his career, to say the least, but he was awesome for Denver. And there was not a lot of good things about the Broncos in 2022. But Latavius Murray coming over from the Saints practice squad was probably the only good in-season move, really. I know Chubb for a first was pretty good because you got Sean Payton away. But I think Latavius Murray is a prime re-sign candidate for Denver. If they don't want to sink a ton of money into a Miles Sanders or Tony Pollard because they are confident that Javonte Williams will return, and when he does, he's going to be their workhorse back. That's it for today's show. We'll sign off and see you guys later with more Broncos news and rumors.